Portugal is a very beautiful and peaceful country with a very stable economic and political situation.
A country with huge potential, huge opportunities. We have a very dedicated workforce, highly trained.
Portugal has a lot of good engineering schools all over the country, and the competition is quite low compared with other countries in Europe.
Portugal has a lot of very good universities. We have a lot of good people aiming for new technologies, new challenges, new products, and the breakthrough of industry.
We came here in Portugal because of the dynamic of the market. As I mentioned, we have hired 800 engineers in less than 3 years. It really shows how dynamic is the market, how entrepreneurial is the environment, and that was really important to build our IT center.
When we recruited lately all these engineers, we were capable of setting up a team of 15 nationalities, all recruited in Portugal. And obviously, the majority of them were Portuguese, but there were a lot of foreigners already living in Portugal due to the amazing quality of life that you have here in the country.
The other reason why we came here, it was because of the international mindset. We are covering operation on 38 countries. And it was important to have people who do have that international mindset, but also who do speak English and other foreign language. And we found that here in Portugal.
The Portuguese people are not only friendly, but they're great linguists. And that, in today's world, is very important, the ability to be able to communicate directly with visitors that are coming from all corners of the planet to discover the beautiful and safe country of Portugal.
We have the people, the know-how, and the willingness to learn.
There's a massive pool of talent for people that on the position that we want to fill. So this makes it basically a no-brainer of investing in Portugal at this moment. So if you're considering, for us the experience was great. So think about it. It might be a very good opportunity.
So good morning everybody. Good morning. Thank you for joining us for this webinar. My name is Carlos Moura. I'm the director of the Portuguese Trade and Investment Agency here in Stockholm, and AICEP is the trade and investment agency that supports Portuguese companies doing business overseas and attracting foreign companies to invest and doing projects in Portugal. We have a small team in Sweden, a very small but very dynamic team to help the companies. And why did we decide to do this webinar? First of all, the increased interest in nearshoring services and projects. Second, the relocation of many services from European companies in Portugal, and maybe a result of deglobalization. The success of Portugal in attracting these kind of projects, and all of these became more important during and after the COVID, that we were able to attract some interesting projects to our country. There are new trends. We are trying to explore these new trends. In this webinar, we have a couple of panelists and speakers that we are going to discuss during this 1 hour and a half. I'm going to have this moderation till the questions and answers, and then I'll ask my colleague from the headquarters, João, to keep the question and answers. The first speaker I would like to introduce is Samira Griller Alalu. She's the country manager for Iberia from Business Sweden. Business Sweden is the Swedish organization, our counterpart. She does almost the same as we do for the Swedish companies. and she's going to talk about the current nearshoring trends and global trends for the Swedish companies when they go overseas. So I'd like to give the floor to Samira, and thank you all for participating in this webinar. Welcome you, Samira. Please go ahead. Thank you.
Well, my name is Samira Grilin-Alalu, and I am the country manager for Iberia here at Business Sweden, and currently located in Madrid. So first, a bit short about who we are. We're Business Sweden, and we are an organization that provides strategic advice, sales execution, and operational support to Swedish companies globally. And we do this in order to help them grow their revenues, shorten time to market, and lower their risks. In addition to this, we are also highly involved in helping global companies that has an interest in investing in Sweden, and we help them to find their opportunities, to expand their operations, and also develop their product portfolios. We are a very global organization, and we have a local presence in over 40 markets. And a lot of our expertise that we have achieved, we have done this by being very locally present in the world's most promising markets for over 45 years. We also have a very unique position in the fact that we are funded 50% by the Swedish government and 50% by the Swedish sector in Sweden. And this, of course, gives us extremely valuable insights, networks, and mandates in these markets. We have 4 main areas where we work in primarily: market expansion, sales acceleration, business to government, and business incubation and operations. And in these areas, we offer both government-enabled services and also private consulting services. So then, why am I here today? Well, I'm here to talk a little bit about nearshoring, as Business Sweden has done a research within this topic very recently, and I would like to share some of this with you. But before I get into the nearshoring part of the presentation, I just want to give you some background information to paint a bit of a better picture of why we are where we are today. Well, if we start from the beginning, globalization. Well, how the world has evolved in terms of globalization for the past decades hasn't really gone unnoticed for anyone. And what you see on this map here is the share of global manufacturing value. And European manufacturers, they're all part of this complex global supply chains with very strong global interdependencies. And if we look at the combination of Europe, Middle East, and Asia, they stand for a significant share of global manufacturing, but it's still very interdependent on the trade with Asia Pacific, which is, as you can see, the largest manufacturing hub. So it's just good to kind of have this, keep this in mind a little bit going forward, that the Asia Pacific will still play a critical role going forward. But you can really say that globalization has been the key in the supply chain trend for the past 30 years. So then what is happening now? Well, we are experiencing these mega trends that are challenging the structures of companies' supply chains. And these are some mega trends that we have identified: digitalization, automation, environment and sustainability, we have the geopolitical and economical power shifts, protectionism, and new consumer markets. So all of these have kind of shifted the environment for companies in terms of trade. But in addition to these mega trends that have kind of been slowly evolving, we've had these major disruptions that have accelerated this change. And we're all aware of the trade wars that are going on between the US and China, Brexit, and of course, our not so dear friend, the COVID-19 outbreak, which has completely disrupted the global economy and the global supply chain setup. And this outbreak has now resulted in an immediate need to reevaluate current supply chain setups. So then what options do companies have in this new era? Well, as a result of these mega trends, as I mentioned, companies have had to kind of fast forwarding their analysis. So they're looking into different options: reshoring, nearshoring, and offshoring, which have been the key strategies that companies have considered when they're looking at their supply chains. But we're focusing on nearshoring today, and I show you here some staples, and this is based on interviews with over 100 executives at different companies, and based on their responses, we can very clearly see that nearshoring and regionalization is preferred over massive reshoring. 83% of the executives they bet on enhancing their value chains through sourcing capacities on the border of EU and Africa. Second part is technology. Technology will be leveraged to create resilience. 77% of companies plan to transition to a lean manufacturing to improve speed, cost, and precision. And also what we touched upon a little bit previously, that companies want to diversify their supply chains to eliminate the dependence. 61% plan to reduce their dependence on single source and country supplies. And also, of course, 37% want to increase their manufacturing presence in Europe. So European companies, they kind of strive to reconfigure their supply chains now to make them more flexible, agile, and of course, they want to reduce risk and dependencies within their current supply chains. So this is where we continue to look at nearshoring, and it becomes a very attractive strategy to continue to explore. So once company has identified that they want to explore the nearshoring options a little bit further, what do they need to do? Well, in our analysis, we have identified several important variables that companies should consider in order for them to evaluate their nearshoring strategies and activities, and to identify what locations are more optimal. And these main variables are, you have to look at the location on a macro level. What does this location or country look like? Is it politically stable? What does a business environment look like? Is it economically stable? You also have to look at labor. Is there availability of labor? What is the cost of the labor in this location? Logistics and access, of course, is important. How easy is it to trade here? What does the infrastructure look like? What is the logistics in general? And also, are there any supply chain partners to team up with in several ways? The fourth variable is cost. What is the cost of this investment? And what is the operational costs to do this long term? And are there any incentives? Are there any tax exemptions or incentives? So these are very important factors when you conduct the analysis in evaluating potential nearshoring locations. So we kind of started this presentation with a brief look on how globalization changed the way of trade. And then we looked at the recent mega trend that has kind of erupted the situation in global trend. And then I talked about the disruptors that are resulting in companies has to react faster today, and they need to look over their supply chains, which they already are, of course, and they're already looking for these options to lessen their dependencies and creating more resilient supply chains. And this is when nearshoring becomes an alternative, and it should be evaluated, and initially by looking at several variables which we have identified. So what does this mean for Portugal? Is there a potential for Portugal as a strategic hub in this sense? Well, if you look at a brief overview of the variables, you have on the macro level, low risk. Portugal is, in terms of safety and political and social stability and even healthcare, it's a fairly low risk. Labor, Portugal has a very attractive talent pool. When it comes to logistics and access, very strong infrastructure system, integrated transport system for efficient logistics, also low trade barriers, and they've been trying to simplify their bureaucracy. Cost, well, Portugal had been ranked the second country in the world, most open country in the world for foreign direct investments. And they also have very competitive tax incentives. In addition to this, they have several strong industries that could be potential, like textiles, automotives, ICT, business services, etc. So if we look very briefly at these variables, Portugal should potentially be in a position of being evaluated as a nearshoring location for several companies. Well, I've given you a brief summary of this research that we've done, please feel free to contact me if you want to know more, if you have any questions about this report, about this information, or what we do. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Samira. Thank you for your in-depth presentation and the opportunities for the Swedish companies in Portugal. And thank you for your permanent collaboration that we've been having with Business Sweden. And now we will have Jennifer Ekström. She's the president of the Swedish-Portuguese Chamber of Commerce. Jennifer, she's an expert already in the Portuguese market. She's been dealing with the Portuguese companies and Swedish companies in Portugal for a long time. And she's going to discuss the trends for Swedish companies establishing in Portugal. So please, Jennifer, thank you again. And all of us are listening to you.
Thank you very much, Carlos, and thank you, Samira, for a good intro. So, as Carlos said, I'm Jennifer Ekström. I'm president of the Swedish-Portuguese Chamber of Commerce. The Chamber of Commerce is a non-profit organization based in Lisbon, and we, short on us, just to start here. I can move to the next slide. We normally say that we are two things. So we're the gateway to business and trade between Sweden and Portugal, which means that we facilitate business entries, we facilitate contacts, we facilitate networking. So we are a local partner. We are one who connect both ecosystem companies and professionals, while we also say we are a networking hub for Swedish and Portuguese professionals. So we try to be a partner to both Swedish and the Portuguese industry in Portugal who want to have trade connection or any type of business relation between each other. Being a non-profit organization, we do neither take on any commercial activities. So we are based on this community that we have with our members, and we try to be this seamless partner throughout the ecosystem, supporting in the initial phase, giving advisory, giving the trade facilitation, making events, activities, webinars, etc. So another short cap, what I think it's interesting to know about the chamber is that we were founded in 1982 here in Lisbon by main Swedish companies present on the market by then. We have today slightly over 115 members in our community. As I mentioned before, it's mainly Swedish industry and Portuguese industry with connection to Sweden. There are also maybe some other countries part of industries in our community, but then they also have closer relations to the Swedish-Portuguese businesses. We cover more or less 21 sectors with all our members. As you see, it's a bit mirrored also to the Swedish subsidiaries that are present in the Portuguese market. There are a bit over 110 if you count on full subsidiaries to Swedish industries. And as a curiosity of our organization, so we are built on a board with 13 board members, where I'm the president, and then we have our Secretary General who leads daily operations, who is Ms. Roya Moghadas, who just contracted this summer. And we are at the moment 54% women in the board, so we are very equal, both in gender but also in ages. I would say we're between 30 and 80 with the various sector competence also. So we have a spread diversity not only in community but also from organizational structure. So coming at a bit more local perspective, as Samira was mentioning, what the global trends and what we see from a macro perspective in Portugal, we can see here from the chamber that here is just an example of companies that are present at the moment. If you're looking for what is Sweden in Portugal, so we have most of the main large companies that Sweden has are also present in Portugal. Anything from ABB, Anticimex, AstraZeneca to Volvo, Securitas, Sectra, and so on. We also have coming a lot of SMEs, and we've seen increasing SMEs entering the Portuguese markets the latest maybe 5-6 years. There was a big boom also before that, but then during the crisis years there was a bit of slowdown, but now it's coming up again, and we see more and more startups actually looking at Portugal also. So not only the large and medium sized, but we also see that there's a growing startup community from Sweden looking at Portugal. Then we have the third axe here that we like to focus on also, is the local production, which makes Portugal, just as Samira mentioned, mainly in the textile industry and production. There's a lot of Swedish industry that makes part of their collections or productions to the products here in Portugal. So here it's also just both large and small companies who has been present in Portugal since many years back, since the 70s and later on. So it's a well-blended market in that sense, even if small. If we come to today, this year, so this year, as we all know, it's a bit disrupted by the COVID, but still we see quite interesting news. If you look just at some news highlights, what is Sweden in Portugal today? So not only looking at the startups and the larger industry, but if you see what is highlighted in news and what we want to bring forward, or we want to bring, but what Sweden brings forward in the Portuguese media, is a lot focus on both sustainability issues. There is fintech startups. We also have the renewables and the tech part. So here are just some of main news that have been passing on last month, and you can see both that we have large investments in renewables in the new wave energy products. We have Bright Sunday, who are also financing solutions in solar industry mainly. We have the fintech startup Think, who's entering Portugal this year. There's also some from other industries, like larger ones, both from Gunnebo and IKEA, showing their saving works during the COVID. IKEA is also lowering prices and focusing also a lot in renewable for domestic use. So besides that, we also have some of the small and tech hubs entering again with e-commerce in Portugal. So taking a step back from that, what the Swedish industry say about Portugal, we did together actually with both Business Sweden and the embassy earlier. Note that this was right pre-COVID, but I think it's still quite relevant because these are both competitive advantages and business challenges that we've been seeing throughout the year. So it's nothing new, but it's something always good to highlight what Swedish industry say about Portugal. And you see both that Swedish industry, like the collaboration with customers, there is a close connection to the country in that sense, with work culture, the business mindset, the market access. You have a high digitalization level, as well as English proficiency, and also access to skilled labor in the market. Though on the challenging sides, there are still some regulatory enforcement. It can take time to obtain licenses and permits. The bureaucracy is still, even though much simplified today, you have to have some patience when going here. And looking at how Portugal has positioned itself the latest, what I would say, latest decade, and also where it is today. I would like to say already a couple of years ago that Portugal highlighted itself as a hub for global expansion. So trying to become this tech hub, which is also now focusing even more on nearshoring. And it has done a good job, because I think both from a global view, there are a lot of global entities present in Portugal with large industries, From Swedish industry, we see here, I just mentioned 5 of them just to show you a bit of historic, but well-known companies, and also some newer ones, and the ones who've been here for longer and shorter, but who has actually used Portugal as a hub for example, global expansion. So after being in Sweden or in the Nordic markets, they go right to Portugal, and then they go further to Latin America, to South America, or to Africa, or even up in Europe, because Portugal, normally you see that Portugal is a small country in the peripheric Europe, just as Sweden. We are more or less 10 million. Here's 11, Sweden is 10. So there's a lot of similarities. Portugal is also an engineering nation as Sweden. So you have a lot of similarities which you can build on, being both peripheral countries in both ends of our continent. And I think it's interesting also to mention here, I put that do not overestimate the market. There are a lot of opportunities in Portugal, but you also have to do your homework before coming here. So it's good to be well aware, even if it's a small market, it has a lot of peculiarities, and there is very good to be niched. It's a curious market. It's a fantastic market to be in if you like it. And I can only recommend presence here. So coming to the nearshoring, not owning as a global hub. I'm just mentioning 3 here because I see in general, we also saw that there are some startups in Portugal coming who are putting their teams here and growing. But we will hear later on in this webinar also about Ericsson, who has a center of excellence in Portugal. We also have Sectra, a large Swedish company, who are using their operations in the north as a global knowledge center, also serving global operations, which has increased a lot the latest years. And we also have an example from Trustly, who is using Portugal as one of their hubs for tech development. There are some more, but also there are a lot of Swedish, both large and medium industry, looking at Portugal as a nearshoring destination. They're still not here, but I think there is intention, there are evaluation, and following global peers. If you look both at, for example, in the car industry, we see both that we have BMW, we have Mercedes, there is Audi. They're all here with digital hubs and local production. So why don't we have the Swedish car brands here, for example? We have other global leading companies with base in Portugal. And I think there is a lot to still that Swedish industry could gain from coming more here in their decisions. So this is a bit of a challenge or a question to the industry listening, but do you dare to follow your global peers to come to the market? And with that, from my end, I'm available just to contact me or to the chamber, and it's glad to be here. And thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you again for this presentation. I just like to stress that the Swedish companies have been in Portugal for a long time, beginning with the commercial part and then following for the services, operations, startups, IT, technology. So I think the trend is definitely what you've been talking about. And now I'll have to introduce my colleague, my good friend, Filomena Dias. Filomena, she's the director for inward investment in AICEP. She's the expert in FDI regarding the projects. So she's the one who takes care of all the projects that come from foreign countries, setting up the programs for the companies, doing the aftercare for the companies that are already there. And she's based in Portugal. So I used to say she's the key person for helping the companies down in Portugal in the field. So I'll invite Filomena to go ahead with this nearshoring service destination with some examples. Please, Filomena.
Okay, thank you, Carlos. Thank you for the introduction, and good morning, everyone, and thank you for all of those that are joining us to this webinar. And as I said, and as Carlos said, the objective of my presentation, I'm trying to share it, is to, I will say it's complementary to And thank you, Samira and Jennifer, for the introduction, because you already point out some competitive advantage and some positive points of Portugal. So the objective of the presentation this morning is to try to share with you information about the companies that already decide to invest in Portugal and what kind of activity they develop in Portugal. And once they are there in Portugal, what are the main key success factors for the operation. So first, it's a very brief overview because the next presentation, Gabrielle from IDC will present a detailed presentation about the current situation of the business service centers in Portugal, the result of a study developed in Portugal. But the objective of this introduction, of my introduction, is to point out the dynamism of Portugal in attracting this kind of activity and focusing on business services. In the last 5-6 years, Portugal has witnessing a positive movement of large international company deciding to invest and to locate in Portugal, Lisbon, Porto, even Braga and Aveiro, to have competence centers there in Portugal. So as you can see, already we already have more than 140 companies established in Portugal. Those companies are large international companies with international competence centers in Portugal. Okay, we are not considering in these numbers the companies that are present in Portugal, but only for servicing the local market. So 142 companies and 160 sites, because some companies have more than one site in Portugal, and that develop international competence centers. So a huge growth in Portugal. It represents roughly 60,000 employees. And when we look at what kind of activities that they develop, the IT and engineering software is the main activities, the core activity. More than 20% of these centers develop functions in IT and engineering software, followed by finance and accounting. And then we have customer support. Recently, we can find new function also served by these sites, such as data analytics, cybersecurity. We have a statement from Cloudflare. Cloudflare is a US company and clouding industry, and they decided in 2018 to locate in Lisbon. And what they point out in the decision, it was the well-connected international hub and also the local talent, and we will see later this key success factor. So to have an idea of what kind of company are in Portugal and why they decided, and as I mentioned in the last years, you have seen an important movement of decision to Portugal. In 2017, we have seen Daimler Group with the Mercedes-Benz Digital Delivery Hub to locate in Lisbon, so in the automotive sectors. In the automotive sectors, we have large presence of German auto makers. So Daimler with a digital delivery hub in Lisbon. Volkswagen also, they are present in Lisbon with a software development center. Bosch, they are present for many years in Portugal because they have industrial activity in Braga, in North Portugal, in Aveiro, and they have large research and development center in Braga. And I will say it's one good example of large international company that develop research and development in Portugal in cooperation with local universities, and they register patents from Portugal. And the BMW company, they have a joint venture with a Portuguese software company, Critical Software. So they created the Critical TechWorks, and where they developed the new solution, I will say, in terms of connecting and mobility and for the automotive sector. So, and they are present in Porto and in Lisbon already with more than 600 engineers spread between Lisbon and Porto. In the energy, we have the Danish company Vestas. They have a research and development center in Porto, in lighting solution, so connecting with the energy also, we have the Austrian company Zumtobel. They decided to locate a competence center in Porto area and to develop research and development. What is very important is to see that this decision is not, I will say, engineering. It's engineering and research and development in cooperation with the local university. And the Belgian company also in the lighting sector, Schreller Pyron, they decided to locate in Lisbon, and they are located in the Cascavel campus of the Universidade Nova. But in the banking sector, we also have very good examples. BNP Paribas, the French bank, they have a large operation in Lisbon since 2008 with more than 4,000 people working in the area of banking and securities. Also French investment bank Natixis, they decided to locate in Porto a competence centers. They established in 2017, and today there are more than 950 people working there. Euronext, they have the IT hub, IT development platform, also based in Porto, and other examples are such as Accenture, Bose, the Chinese COFCO, Atos, and Google, Sodexo. Sodexo is a French company with a business services financial service center based in Porto. And more recently, and even if we are in a very, I will say, uncertain time, in 2020, we have seen a new company deciding for Portugal, the German Enfond company. They work in the clothing industry, so they decided to locate a nearshore center in Lisbon, and also Springer Nature, also a new innovation hub in Lisbon. So all these examples demonstrate how Portugal and Lisbon, Porto is attractive, and why they decided for Portugal. We will see the talent is the main issue and questions. But before going in details in this key success factor, first just to have an idea, when we look at Portugal, I will say Lisbon is the main hub in terms of location. Many companies have, in terms of internal policy, to locate in the capital of the country where they decide to base. But Porto has developed in the recent years, so we have more than 44 centers, and we represent roughly 10,000 employees in the business services competence center activity. But other regions also are receiving new companies. And why are they deciding for Portugal? I will say the first is talent, the second reason is talent, and the third is talent. Companies are looking for the best talent in the world. And when we are studying the potential in terms of the talent pool of a country, and sometimes some companies say, yes, but the unemployment rate is not so high, so it could be tough to find the right people, the right talent. It's the same in every country. And when we are looking for very specific skills in the IT, for example, there is no unemployment. What is important to see where we can find strong university with international cooperation, and in Portugal we have a very strong network of universities, and we have more than 385,000 students per year. We have roughly 80,000 graduates. And this year also, what we have seen in Portugal is an increase of new application to enter in the university, and the Ministry of the Science decided to increase the number of places in the university to absorb this interest, and to ensure that we will have the capacity to, I will say, sorry, using this word, but to produce more talent in Portugal in our universities. Important also is to see that 1/3 of our students are in the science, technology, and mathematics areas, areas that are are more, I will say, of more interest for companies and for developing new business in the area where digitalization is so important. But another important point is the fact that our universities are attracting more and more foreign students. And when companies are in a decision process to locate a new operation, it's very important to evaluate the local based in terms of talent, but also to ensure that this location is attractive for international talent. And our Portuguese university in the last years have increased the number of foreign students, and it is increasing, still increasing for the next years. Unfortunately, this year it's very specific with the COVID, with some restriction for traveling. Statistics won't be so good, but apart of it, we are witnessing a positive trend on this area. And just to point out some interesting facts about the talent pool, Portugal has the second highest rate of engineering graduates in Europe, and Jennifer pointed out this, that Portuguese, we are an engineering country, and the numbers demonstrate that. In terms of English proficiency, Portugal also is very well classified, and we rank 12 in the English First Proficiency Index. So a well cover and knowledge in terms of foreign languages. The main foreign languages used in Portugal is English, and then followed by I would say Spanish, French, and German. And the fact that we have strong investment from France, Germany, and Spain is important also, and demonstrate how these languages are important. We have a long tradition in terms of investment from this country, so we have a strong community also from this country, and we have private school and French school in Lisbon, in Porto, German school in Lisbon, Porto, and Spanish school in Lisbon. And as I already mentioned, roughly 14% of students in higher education in Portugal are foreign students. I introduce also this new slide because with the current situation, what we see also, and a major concern for investors is the risk perception of the country. And COVID, I will say, this trend was coming from in the recent past, but with the COVID situation, it increased the interest and the preoccupation, the concern about the risk perception of the country. And Portugal, in terms of safety, we have in third position of the Global Peace Index. We have Iceland and New Zealand in the two first place, so very well ranked, demonstrate how it's safe to live, to invest, and to work in Portugal, and it's very important. And it's very important when companies want to attract their international talent for the initial location, okay? And in terms of political and social stability also, Portugal ranks pretty well, and the operational risk. So this new dimension has increased in their interest for the company regarding the recent situation and the current situation in which we are. Then the connectivity. With the lockdown, as a consequence of the COVID, what we have seen is all our clients have to shift from the work at office and to work from home, and to ensure the activity and the support to the clients. So it's very important when the company decides to locate in the country to ensure that the platform and the telecommunication infrastructure in this country could serve the objectives and guarantee that they can maintain the activity. And Portugal, we have very good results. All our clients, I will say, they say it, and they experience that it was quite very easy to shift from the office work to home work. And some clients are still working from home, and will develop this new way of work. And it was possible, obviously, because the telecommunication platform and infrastructure in Portugal could handle that. In terms of digitalization, also Portugal ranks pretty well in some rankings. It's very important in terms of digitalization index, as you can see, public services, digital public services. So when the economy is in lockdown, it's very important to have digital services and communication technology. So this new dimension, I will say, connectivity, telecommunication, the interest of these thematics of factors increased with the current situation. And obviously, as Samira and Jennifer also point out, that when a company decides for location, once they ensure they have a strong local talent pool, once they ensure that they have also a strong infrastructure to support their activity, and the country is stable, political and social, and safe to locate their team and to attract expats to there. It's very important also to reduce the cost of the setting up of this new center, new operation, to have some local support. In Portugal, we have a very attractive research and development schemes, tax credit, but also financial support. This year, we are in the last year in terms of framework program, but then the next framework program, the expectation that we continue to have very attractive and support schemes for companies. Job creation, we have several measures to support job creation, so some grants, tax exemption, and this support and these grants are very important to reduce the cost of training these new people that are working in these new centers, and also interesting support for expats. First, tech visa certification to facilitate, to speed up the process to attract international talent outside EU, but also for income tax, so a flat rate for expats that come to Portugal to work. And finally, and as I already mentioned, the Global Peace Index, and when we are speaking about international competence centers, attracting international talent, sorry, it's very important to present a quality of life. A country, in terms with diversity, in terms of quality of kind of activity that expats and the community could develop in Portugal. We are the ranks first in the world-based quality of life country for expats. But an important point also is the fact that international companies, they need to sell to the expat community the location that they have decided or they have chosen to develop a new high value added competence centers. And the Bloomberg state that the pastel de nata will be the next croissant. And why it's important? Because when we speak about croissant, the French croissant, everyone knows what is it, okay? The French croissant, because you can find it everywhere in the world. But the pastel de nata, more and more is the same. You can find it in South Korea, in China, Shanghai, Beijing, in New York, in London, and for sure in Sweden also. So when you say, well, we decided to locate our next competence center or tech hub, innovation hub in Lisbon, the country of the, or in Porto, the country of the pastel de nata, this is a reference for Portugal, and it's very important also. So that's what I would like to present to you. Just to conclude, how AICEP can help you in the process. We help companies in their decision process from the beginning, helping you to have the right information for your decision process. So provide information, key information for your business model to evaluate Portugal as an option for location of your activities. We help you also, and we manage to organize fact-finding visits Unfortunately, during the lockdown, it wasn't possible to have visits to Portugal, but we shift to the virtual visit, and we have seen some clients that decided for Portugal only with virtual visits, without visiting Portugal. And we had a very, very good experience with our clients. Site location to find the right place, to present you to the right partner in Portugal, and also to help you to get and to maximize the incentives that you can find. So please, even you are in an early stage of your process, you can contact us, you can contact us to get more information. And first of all, and I will say more important, is in complete confidentiality. AICEP will never disclose the name of the company, and so you can ensure you have, with AICEP, we have a strong partner, and we will, I will say, we will respect your timing and also the confidentiality of your process. So that's what, Carlos, that's what I would like to share. So from my side, again, thank you for being there and participating in this webinar.
Thank you, Philman, for the presentation. Definitely, we'll have a couple of questions and answers regarding pastel de nata. But before that, I think we should go on the next speaker. As you know, we do our own studies. The Chamber and Business Sweden does their own studies as well. And now we'll have something a little bit above. That's the Vice President of IDC International, Gabrielle Quimber, that is going to present the study on business service in Portugal. For us, it's quite important to have another organizations doing studies on services and on the operations and the success of the international companies in Portugal, and why we are so attractive in having these international companies. So I'll give the floor to Gabrielle. Thanking again for being part of our team in this kind of webinars. So please go ahead and good presentation.
Okay, thank you, Carlos. Good morning, everyone. So it's a great pleasure to be here presenting the results of this research, this report we published a few months ago. And we did it in partnership with one of the main information business schools in Portugal, and also with the support of AICEP. And basically what we tried to do was we tried, and I think we did it, we gave voice to the business service centers based in Portugal. Basically we at IDC, we are a research company, and we do thousands of studies and research every month. And this was a special study where we really talked direct with the business centers, decision makers in Portugal, to understand what why they choose Portugal, and what they are doing, and what they are planning for the next year. So basically, I will try to quickly, in 15-20 minutes, give you an overview of this study. You can have access to this, to the full report, contacting AICEP. But basically, I will try to give you an overview of the main reasons business service centers are choosing Portugal. Countries that are served, key industries investing in Portugal, the main activities, best practice, especially in terms of recruitment, and the level of satisfaction and the perspectives for the next 3 years. So I think Philomen already talked about the size of this market in Portugal. And it would be important to have in mind that we were able to talk with more than 50% of all business centers in Portugal. And basically we did it through an online survey, but we also talked face-to-face with 8 business centers, 4 in Lisbon and 4 in Oporto. So basically, we saw in the presentation, in the last presentation from Philomen, the numbers, how the business service centers are distributed, and how they are growing in Portugal. So I will go ahead and skip this slide and start to really present the results of the survey we did with business service centers in Portugal, and we in the last 3 presentations we saw many reasons why companies are choosing Portugal, and I would say, and based on the survey, and I personally would say that the security, the food, the climate would be the best. The reason behind, but really in the end, our respondents, what they told us, it was very clear that Portugal has the best talent for the money when they are looking to go abroad to develop their operations. So you see here competitive costs, 91%, and easy to find qualified local talent. So these two reasons. So the best talent for the money, and we also saw factors like language skills, geographic location, reasons related to security and climate and so on, easy to attract foreign talents, easy to start operations and so on. So many other reasons, but really the costs and the talent are the main reasons for, at least for the business service centers we surveyed. So, and we surveyed more than 50% of them. So looking to a more detail, it's interesting to see the big growth we had in the past 4 years. So we see most of the centers were established in the last 4 years. And we also see a big increase of centers being located outside Lisbon, not only in Oporto, but also in Braga, Aveiro, and other regions in Portugal. We try to understand how the number of full-time employees of these business service centers are growing, and it's growing even more rapidly than the number of business centers. So we see here double-digit growth in Lisbon, 11%, but at overall is 36%, basically because Oporto and other regions are really growing a lot in terms of number of full-time employees. Looking to the country of origin of these business centers in Portugal, it's clear that most of them are from Europe, but we see already 16% are from United States. We see 3% already in Japan, and also look below down in the presentation, we see others are also represent countries like Brazil, China, and other countries. We see also here 8% in Portugal, so basically our business centers from Portugal that are serving other countries and not only Portugal. As I mentioned it, and as Philomen said, we are looking to companies that are based in Portugal, serving all the world in terms of business operations. So the size in the right, so you have companies with less than 50 million euros, but almost 50%, 150 of them with more than 25 billions in revenues. In terms of vertical markets, so what are the key industries represented in this market in Portugal? We see 38% are manufacturing companies from many specific areas, and we see, and it was a really big increase in the past 4 years, the information technology sector have been growing more than others, and it represents already 21% of the total the total number of business centers in Portugal. And we also have others like retail, transportation, also banking, telcos, and other sectors. So what they do, and basically we have almost everything in terms of business centers. So we have here segmented by region, Lisbon, Oporto, and Toto, and others. We have a global business service. We have shared service centers. We have centers of excellence. We have IT centers. We have R&D centers. We have BPO. So a broad range of functions or types of business centers in Portugal, and who they are serving or what countries they are serving. So they are serving all the world. We see here that, for example, Asia 35%, North America 44%. So we are really global. Centers serving not only Europe but serving across the globe. So looking to the language skills, I would say almost all of them, 94%, are speaking English. We also, of course, speak Portuguese, not only because of the Portuguese market, but serving Brazil and other countries, but then French, Spanish, German. And it's very interesting. And if you look into your left, we see that around 1/3 of the business centers are speaking more than 5 languages, and I would say all of them are speaking more than 1 language. So it's really a key reason, and we saw before for choosing Portugal the language skills. Then the other topic that it's increasing in terms of importance, especially when companies are looking for the best talent, is the IT talent, and we see here that business service centers in Portugal, what kind of functions they have, and we see 27% is IT, but specifically software development, and if we sum the other ITs, like and you see in the number 5, 6, and 7, the others, and infrastructure management, and also service desk, it's more than 40%. The functions are related to IT, and also other functions like finance, procurement, human resources, and specific centers of data analytics start to be deployed in Portugal. Looking a little bit deeper in terms of the skills and looking to the program language, and it's really a topic for the decision makers we talked with. They are really looking to skills that's good IT skills, and we see here like language like JavaScript, SQL, .NET, Java, and also Python, and others new languages are being represented in these business service centers in Portugal. The talents, trying to summarize a bit, I think it's not only the IT skills or the language skills. We have a really diversified pool of talents. With a high percentage of works from higher education, and we see already a number, and it's increasing the number of full-time employees from other countries, and the average age is still 32 years. So this is really trying to look deeper in terms of the talents, and in Portugal, talent is talent, and the cost of the talent is the reason for choosing Portugal. But it's really a topic because it's not only about being in Portugal. Business service centers have to then develop, and we see that these centers are increasing the number of full-time employees. So what are the best practice in terms of recruitment and attracting the best talent for their organizations. So we see a big cooperation with the universities, And that's why we also decided to do this research also with one of the main information management schools in Portugal. Training and career development. They also use, of course, some recruitment agencies, but a lot of direct relationship with the universities, and of course the other methods like social media, relocation from employees from other countries, flexible work schedules, recruiting abroad, and also specific relocation package. So, trying to understand what they are offering to attract these talents for their organizations. The traditional ones like health insurance, performance bonus, but then we see these flexible hours, and we see a lot of people interested in not only being in Portugal to work, but also to enjoy life. So these flexible hours are really important in Portugal, and have a high value for the talent that are employed, and also for the business service centers that can offer these, and also not only have a differentiator comparing to other countries, but it's also a differentiator, but it's a really strong way to increase the productivity of the employees. And then we see parking, life insurance, leisure and sport, recreation, and so on. Investment is really key. We try to understand what are the main training needs, not only the hard skills but also soft skills, foreign language, information technology, of course, and specific training in business process. And we see a lot of business service centers partnering with universities in Portugal, doing specific programs related to their own business process. So it's interesting, this partnership with universities for this training also. In terms of challenges, of course, it's the reason, but it's the main challenge, the retention. We see business service centers growing a lot, and so they are always trying to find new ways to retain the best talent, to recruit and increase the salaries and benefits. It's normal, but it's still the best talent for money. And then the recruitment, the language qualification. We are serving more countries, real estate, labor regulation, and others that are really also an issue today, but have been is much better than it was a few years ago. So I'm just finishing 2 more slides. The level of satisfaction. So almost all of them are satisfied with the business center in Portugal. I would say 2/3 very satisfied, and then almost the other 1/3 is satisfied with the organization, with the performance of the center. To finish, we try to understand the future, and we try to analyze the future at IDC. And what we saw was that really the future looked bright for business service centers in Portugal. 79% of them are planning to increase the scope of function that are provided. 77% are planning to increase the number of full-time employees, and 50% will, of course, it's a trend. We will also not only increase the number of FTEs, but we will, of course, use RPAs and other techniques to automate their process. So increase number of clients, operation stability, increase the geography coverage, and open new centers also in Portugal, and also start to not only to serve their own organizations, but to deliver some process outsourcing. From my part, that's it. I have a few more slides about IDC, but I think for the sake of time, I will give the floor back to Carlos, and thank you all for listening, and we'll be here for any question. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Gabrielle, and thank you, IDC, for presenting this study. I think there are very good data on Portuguese services operations that we can see there, and the opportunities to have the operations in Portugal. And one of them is the talent. So we're going to be a little bit deep more on the talent, and we invited Randstad Portugal to present what is the talent or the international talent available in Portugal. Josep Stani is the senior manager for the shared service centers and technology from Randstad, and I think he is the expert on the human resources and talent. So thank you again, José, and go ahead with your presentation.
Good morning, all. First of all, thank you for the invitation, and thank you for those who are viewing. Like Carlos said, I'm part of the Randstad team here in Portugal for the Shared Service Center. Along with me in this presentation is José Miguel Azevedo, our director for the Nearshore. So we work closely to each other to help foreign companies to come to Portugal. Just a brief presentation regarding Randstad. Randstad is a Dutch company. Currently, we are the biggest HR company in the world, with almost 30,000 employees placed every day. In Portugal, we have around 37 branches. We work in all areas of human resources as well, and these are our services. We can do all the solutions that are needed, since career counseling to outplacement, working in consulting to direct recruitment, working in training and staffing. Our focus here in Portugal are still contact centers and staffing, so the temporary work, and also working in information technologies, developing solutions, providing resources, or even do just recruitment to them. So we made a quick search, and we know that already Jennifer has brought out this, but the biggest Swedish companies in terms of FTEs are here in this list. IKEA is the number one, and we have the source of Duns and Bradstreet to help us with this. What we did also was a search for the most requested jobs for Swedish speakers in the last 2 years in Portugal. We saw that there are a lot of customer service due to the language, helping on banking support, fashion, logistics, and customer support. Also, the content reviewer using the digital support, the gaming area is it's area that it's big here in Portugal. Also, renewal specialists, and in the financial part, that is the main focus of the shared service centers here in Portugal, that are the financial areas, the accounts payables, receivables, general ledgers, HR, tax, legal, working for the Nordic companies. Also, the areas in which we saw that there were more Swedish needed was in the insurance, finance, utilities, service, and in telco. Where is the talent coming from? We saw in the other presentations that the companies are investing a lot in Lisbon and Oporto, but also in other areas like Aveiro, Braga, in the center like Fundão. So we can see that the main source of talent is still Lisbon, followed by Porto, and then Braga. So the talent, it's following the trend of the business services that are being created here in Portugal. We just wanted to show you how we can do the recruitment. We have a methodology that it's already proven his value. We can do a recruitment by posting job sites, using our database, using LinkedIn. We create business case for each candidate. Then we will do the interviews. We can do certified linguistic validation when it's needed, create motivation letters, create business cards in order to present to the companies in order to choose the best candidates. Also, what we do and what we think is really profitable with companies that come from abroad is social media campaigns and using our marketing allied with our human resources. So what we can do is create specific land pages in our site so that the viewers of the Randstad site, so you already have more users coming to the Randstad site, and then they'll have a specific land page of your company. We can do that in the randstad.com as well. We can post on recruitment sites. We have a good approach to universities, chambers of commerce, embassies. We can create a social media campaign also using our tools, so we can have already all of the people that follow Randstad in the social networks that they can follow also these clients, and we can create a mail shot to the Randstad database. Also, we can work with combined communication strategies, in which we can create corporate ads, press releases, events, sunsets, concerts, workshops, everything that is needed just to give the name or to create the buzz of the name of the client in order to attract the best talent. I will now pass to José Miguel, who will speak a little bit more in detail what are the EVP drivers for the Swedish consultants here in Portugal.
Thank you, José. Well, I'm going to my name is Miguel Azevedo. I'm currently head of Nearshore operations in Randstad, and I'm going to share with you some numbers, some drivers from a research that we have made from the last five years. This is the Randstad employer research, and here we can see some drivers, what potential employees want when they are choosing an employer. Well, as a matter of fact, if we look to these 5 drivers that we have here, we have the attractive salary and benefits, work-life balance, and career progression. But if we compare the Portuguese result for 2020 with the European results, we see, for example, for the Europeans, the pleasant work atmosphere is placed on the second line when compared with the Portuguese most important criteria. Here we can have this, in my point of view, this is a very interesting slide because we have the perception of the employer offer in Portugal. We have the evaluation of the current employer. What we have made, we have this research is made to almost 5,000 people from 18 to 64, and we have asked them the evaluation that they made from their current employer, and we can see these are the 10 drivers, and we can see that the last ones are the work-life balance, career progression, and attractive salary and benefits. But if we ask them what are the general perception that you have from the employers in Portugal, we already see a little difference. But the profile of the ideal employer, what they would like to have in the ideal employer, we already have the same drivers that we have on the previous slide: attractive salary and benefits, the work-life balance, and the career progression. So we think that we have to work with in our companies to bridge those gaps that we have in here. In this slide, we have also the perception of the different generations that we have, from Generation Z to baby boomers. When we are talking about talent and we are searching for people, we have to pay attention what is kind of generations are looking for. For example, the Generation Z that's going to from 18 to 24, 20% of them are looking for diversity and inclusion in their employer. This is higher when we compare this with the millennials or even the Generation X or boomers. When we are talking about millennials, 54% of the millennials seek for a pleasant work-life balance. This is different from the boomers with 48%. They are less interested in this offering of their in their employer. In the generation X, 35% of this generation find financial health a very important pull factor in the employer. And we are looking, when we are looking for boomers, this is an important demand that they have. That's the location, but the location between their houses and their work. Some sector insights. We have to pay attention about the awareness and attractiveness. If we look to this slide, we have the most attractiveness business. We have the healthcare, we have the aviation, the IT, telco, consulting, media, but we also need to see if these companies, of this kind of companies, they are also awareness, because a sector with high attractiveness contains more attractive companies and they are more known. So what you want to say is, when people are looking for a job, okay, they look for attractive businesses, but they also want to see if they are awareness or not, if they are more known than the other companies. Here we also made from this research, we compare the results between men and women. On the first place, we have the attractive salary and the benefits. So men and women are very aligned on the first driver. But for example, women, they search for a pleasant atmosphere. We can see that 53% of women are looking for pleasant atmosphere, and men, they are not looking for it. They prefer work-life balance, career progressions, and sometimes even in the recruitment processes that we have to pay attention to these particular drivers when we are choosing the right person. We also have to pay attention to the education, by education. These same drivers that we have been talking for, but by education. If you are looking for higher education, people are looking for attractive salary. This is always the first driver that people are looking for. But for example, the lower people with lower schooling, they are looking for job security. This is very important when we are working with this kind of people. We have to talk a little bit about the companies, know a little bit more about the companies, because we have to sell these positions that companies are looking for. The additional benefits, I think that we have already talked a little bit about it, but from this research that we have made, we have the top 5 most attractive benefits: healthcare, flexible working hours, full or partial reimbursement of commuting mobility expenses, internal training. But what we compare here is what people find attractive and what people receive. We see that healthcare is the most attractive benefit, and only 39% of these people have answered to this request that they have from their companies. So what we are in Randstad, we work under a quote: there is tech and touch, and sometimes we have to use all the tech that we have available to get the right people. So we have to use the artificial intelligence, we have to use the big data, machine learning, everything about that. So I think that's all about our presentation. If you are interested, we can share with you more details about this research that we have made every year. So thank you guys, and welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Jose and Miguel. Thank you for this presentation on the talent. Definitely the work-life balance is one of the keywords, especially for the Swedish market and the Swedish society. And now, last but not least, we've been talking about these services in Portugal. Now we want someone to share with us the experience of a Swedish company that has been important for a long time, but especially in this area. We'll have Nuno Rosso, is the head of digital services Portugal for Ericsson. I don't need to explain who is Ericsson. Nuno can give our insight. And please, Nuno, share with us your experience and the Ericsson experience in Portugal regarding the services and the competitors that you can find in Portugal.
Okay, first of all, thank you for this invitation, and it's a pleasure to be here and sharing our experience here with Nearshoring in Portugal. Starting very quickly with a glance of Ericsson. I mean, I believe that you know the company, but anyway, it's always good to mention that we have innovation in our DNA. Let's say being in the market for more than 140 years and surviving all this time, we need to be innovative. So at the moment, let's say our investment in terms of R&D, it's around 38 billion coronas, Swedish coronas, like 3.8 billion euros, more or less. 1/4 of our employee workforce is working in R&D. We are one of the biggest companies with the most patents in the world, with 54,000 patents in different technologies. And also, maybe this is not so well known, Ericsson is also providing managed services for different networks across the world with the mobile operators. So in total, we are managing 1 billion customers, 1 billion users, which make us virtually the biggest, let's say, operator in that sense in the world. And also we are providing support services to a customer base of 2.5 billion users in the world. The next, let's say, wave of innovation is going to be the 5G, as you worded, for sure. Ericsson is now with a mark of 100 commercial 5G agreements all over the world, and it has already 56 live networks in the world with Ericsson technology. So, and also in terms of the patents, again, we are #1 in what regards to the 5G patents that are the most important ones. Although 5G is going to still to come in Portugal, worldwide, this is, I mean, a very important situation and place to be. So going back to the specific situation of the creation of the Nearshoring Center in Portugal, what was the reasonings? Let's say, I mean, basically, one of the areas that we have in Ericsson is the BSS, the so-called business support system. So it's one part of the solution that is supporting the operator business. And specifically within this area, we have two products. The catalog manager, that is basically, in a nutshell, helping providers, operators to launch services in a faster way to the market, new and innovative services. And also the order management. So this order management is a software solution that basically helps operators to be more efficient in their day-to-day operations. So there was being one of the key areas in Ericsson and being the operators, let's say, striving for this operational efficiency with these solutions, there was a lot of demand within the different Ericsson customers. There was a lot of projects, and there was the need to build up capacity and competence in these areas. So it was decided to create a Nearshoring Center in Portugal to cover these specific needs. And let's say geographical area that it would be serving, it would be Europe and Latin America. This has to do with the way that Ericsson is organized. I mean, we have 5 market areas, being one of them Europe and Latin America, which is covering a very large number of countries, around 100 countries. So the specific of this unit, Nearshoring Center, was to support this region. Why was Portugal chosen as a location? I mean, first of all, this was kind of opportunistic. There was already an initial team of around 20 people working in this area, providing some local projects. So that was a historical, let's say, fact, and it made sense that since we were, let's say, creating more capacity, that it would start in a country that there is already some of these people and these competences. Also, there was available competence in the market. We are talking about a very specific type of competence, very specialized, and we know that there was some competence available in the market that we could somehow insource to Ericsson. Of course, the location and language, Portugal was just perfect, because you can see that in terms of geographical location, in terms of the time zones and so on, Portugal will be in the right spot to support both, let's say, the East and the West, South America and Europe and so on. So with few hours of difference between the different locations. The language, very important, because I mean, all of them, of course, would need to talk English, which is an easy thing to do in Portugal, to find in Portugal, but also Spanish, because Latin America, South America is quite a big market to Ericsson in this area, so Spanish was also very relevant. Also, there was already one other global unit in Portugal with this context, a smaller unit, but still already some presence in Portugal within these competences. So adding all of these, let's say, arguments, and also considering that in the local market in Portugal, there was kind of a good flow of projects in these areas and opportunities, I believe that the decision was really easy to make in terms of the location. So there was a plan that was set up in terms of setting up this unit. Being Ericsson a global company, it has a lot of, it can be a complex in terms of different units, organizations, and so on. So the nearshoring Portugal, we needed to fit it in the delivery model that would make sense in terms of the other units that we have within Ericsson, like we do a lot of offshoring from India, and we don't want this nearshoring center in Portugal to compete with India. We wanted that would be complementary to the competences that we would have, for instance, in India, and also on a lot of local organizations. So this was, let's say, agreed internally and set up. And the next move would be to start hiring, basically. There was two, let's say, objectives here. Main goal was to start hiring the very specialized resources and people in the market. So this would be a kind of the top of the competence pyramid, okay? And we were very, let's say, selective in this sourcing in the market, and this took some time, but we made it. And then the base of the pyramid would be leverage on a trainee program. Okay, so this would be the intention to have trainees in order to renew the team, in order to have, let's say, to have a good base, leverage, and also with the objective, and very important, to use local incentives for traineeships. I'm talking about the governmental programs like IFP and also AICEP, because we have also one or two trainees from the AICEP program in this nearshoring center, which was quite interesting. And I believe that in this way, Portugal has good incentives for traineeships for companies, and we plan to leverage on them. In terms of the work location, we would be main location would be our Ericsson office in Parque das Nações. But very important to say that many of these talents that we were recruiting, they were spread around different locations in the country. Many in the north, center. I mean, you name it. There is many people in different cities in Portugal, and these were made from the start. And when contracting the people, that they will be working basically from home, and they would be traveling to the countries that we were serving based on the needs of the project. Okay, but the location, I would say that most of the people in this nearshoring center, we have some people here in Lisbon, but most of them, they are, let's say, spread in the country and working from home. So what is the current status? The decision was made back in the quarter 2 2018 to grow the competence in the nearshoring in Portugal. We have been hiring, and we are now 50 specialized people in this nearshoring center. Adding up to the already existing unit that I mentioned before, we are around at the moment 90 people with these competences in Portugal. This might seem not much, but we are talking about very specific competences, and they are, let's say, very valuable for all the customers in the projects that are ongoing in different parts of the globe. Here we can see the participation in some of the on the projects in different countries, and also to know that, I mean, interesting to understand that besides Europe and Latin America, since there was needs also in other countries outside this region, we can see a few of them here that are out of this region. So in the end, we are providing with this nearshoring center competences not only for this region, but also covering some of the needs that are also part of other regions. So and the center now is very recognized internally, and as having a lot of expertise and competence. And I can say that at the moment, all the people that we have, and we are, let's say, hiring upon the needs of the projects. But all these people, they are full allocated to projects, and they have a lot of work, which is good to know. So in terms of a bit of looking forward and challenges, I would say that we will continue to deliver the projects with the quality that is expected from our customers. Depending on the demand, we will be also opening to increase the team. So this is something that we are always looking to the market and see what is the situation. Also, we have, I mean, being in an industry that is always changing with new technologies, it's very important that we continue to invest on the people that we have in terms of competences. There are areas like cloud, 5G, automation, and artificial intelligence that they are key areas for our industry, and these people, that they need to, let's say, to continue to have these development plans, to develop their competence and to be able to tackle the projects that are coming in the near future and using all these new technologies. So my last, let's say, reflection here. Initially, I have to say that initially the intention was to have a kind of nearshoring in Ericsson is a kind of a middle ground between offshoring and the local organization. So it's a center that has expertise, but is not low cost, but it has a, let's say, a competitive cost. Let's put it like this. I think that with the growing competences that we have in Portugal and the IT salaries that are, let's say, also growing, or at least they were growing until a few time ago, I believe that we will be, let's say, moving from a kind of a nearshoring concept in that sense towards a more competence center, so more specialized centers, because we don't want, I believe, here in Portugal to compete only due to the cost. Of course, it's important, but very much leveraging on the competences that we have in Portugal. So I believe that this trend in the future is changing towards more specialized centers that can have a lot of value to the different industries. So this is what I had from my side, and thank you, Carlos. I hand over to you.
Thank you again, Nuno. Thank you for explaining as how Ericsson has been doing in Portugal. It's a quite good example and the best credibility that we can have as a Swedish company in Portugal for a long time. And now I will hand over to João, our colleague from the headquarters, to organize the questions and answers. We are a little bit over time, but I think we still have a couple of minutes for some questions. Please, João.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, all participants. We have here several questions. I will start just with Nuno, who just finished. But I would ask him, well, what were the main challenges that Ericsson faced when setting up this NSC unit?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that the main challenge was to, being this is a very specialized unit, the main challenge was to look for these specialized competences in the market. So we need to have a kind of a very, let's say, detailed search in the market, and having like this kind of cherry picking of specific profiles in the market. These are not general IT competences. They are very specific. They are Ericsson products, so not many people working with them. We knew that there was talent in the market already with this experience. So I think that there was a very intensive sourcing from the point of view of human resources and hiring process. So that was quite, let's say, challenging, but in the end, I think we were quite successful in getting the people that we wanted.
Good. Well, thank you very much. Anyway, related to people also, I would like to ask to our participants from Randstad. In your opinion, is Portugal a competitive player for this model of nearshore and shared services activities?
Yes, we can say that yes, Portugal has a lot of advantages. I think they were all shown in all presentations, the quality of the talent, our location from our time zone, our infrastructures. We have reliable communications, transportation, and energy. Also, I will say that our stable political environment. We are flexible. We can adjust. We have modern management concepts. And also we can provide a quality of life with a good work-life balance to all employees. So I think that companies that invest here in Portugal have all these advantages.
We are a little bit short of time, so I will put just another question to Gabrielle Quimber. Do we see, in your opinion, regarding the ICT industry, do we see global companies investing in Portugal in technical centers?
Yeah. Hello, João. Thank you for the question. Yes, it's clear that we are seeing that. I think at a global level we see more investment from IT companies in every country, but especially in Portugal we see a higher increase, a higher growth in business service centers related to IT. So we saw Cloudflare and we saw other centers related to automotive industry, but it's really focused on IT and many other examples. And most of the growth are coming from this sector. And if not related to the sector itself, it's related to the department of other sectors. So IT is really an area that is growing much more than the rest in Portugal.
Yes, thank you very much for the question. Well, I won't ask Philomen for the receipt of the pastéis de nata, but I would like to ask Jennifer for her opinion. Have you seen in the chamber, have you seen really an increase of Swedish company interested in the Portuguese market?
We have actually, if you look from, I would say the last maybe 3-4 years, since 2016, it's been quite a good increase. See a couple of entries each year, both of some of, I'll show the highlights, but not only to the chamber, but in general, that Swedish companies were actually both investing more in Portugal for various reasons, or are having a global hub, and also new companies coming. I think it's a mix of all what has been said here today, and also maybe the web summit who came here that has made people have a better look on Portugal, and they get the first so to say attraction to come here, and then understand that they actually want to be here also. So, yes.
Okay. Thank you very much. Samira, thank you very much for your interesting presentation. Regarding your opinion, the fact that you're looking at Iberia and you're based in Madrid, don't you? What you think about it? It's easy for you or to connect both markets, Spain and Portugal?
A good question. Well, I've only been in Madrid for 3 weeks, so I'm very new in this position. So maybe I can give you a better answer 6 months from now. But I think just me being in this presentation at this webinar today and connecting with Carlos at a very early stage, and also with Jennifer and the chambers over there, I see great potential, and I have high hopes for a smooth and a good collaboration. I mean, and we have Business Sweden have been working with Portugal previously as well, and I just see this work and focus intensifying and going forward. I hope that's a good enough answer for you today.
Good. So we hope to see you very, very, very soon here.
Yes, you will.
Anyway, last but not least, I will ask Carlos just before to pass the word to him. Carlos, what can you do for Swedish companies?
Good question. Thank you, João. I think we can do all. We can do everything they need, from information, organizing programs, guiding them in the incentives and the package that Portugal has to offer, linked with our team in Portugal. So I think we are the shop here to help the Swedish companies to the first approach to the Portuguese market regarding these operations, and then we can link with our teams in Portugal, headed by Philomen, that can deal with all the projects. So I think we are the door in Stockholm for all the Swedish companies that wants to do business with Portugal.
Thank you. Well, for all the assistants that you can put your questions, and they will be answered surely by writing. We will write back to you. So I just thank you, all of you, to be here, and I will pass the word to Carlos to make. Thank you very much for my part.
Thank you, João, for the questions and answers. Thank you for the interesting insights from all the panelists. I'm going to very brief in these closing remarks. First of all, I have to thank you all the speakers for being part of this webinar. For it is quite interesting and important to have these partners in our events. There are definitely 3 organizations to support your nearshoring projects in Portugal. Ourselves, and the embassy itself here based in Stockholm, the Chamber of Commerce, and the Business Sweden. Definitely, the excellent study from the IDC was very impartial and very well focused. That gives a very good idea what we can offer as a country for the international companies. But I have to say that there is one word that is very important to stress, is the talent. Besides the connectivity, infrastructure, stability, the talent is the most, or is the key word for these days in Portugal. We have the example of a Swedish company in Portugal. As I said at the beginning, we have a long tradition of Swedish companies investing and doing business in Portugal. And I'll have to end up telling you that you have the perfect recipe to set up your operations in our country. Feel free to contact us here in Stockholm. We are in the city center at the embassy. Our premises are at the embassy in Stockholm, and we are more than open to guide you and to inform you and to meet with you regarding this information on Portugal. Last information, this webinar was recorded and is going to be displayed online on our LinkedIn and on our website. So feel free to contact us. Like I used to say, use and abuse on AICEP in Stockholm and all our panelists. Thank you again. I think we are in the good path of doing business with Swedish companies. Thank you all.